Good morning, everybody. Hey, how's everybody doing? Someone requested that for me to show them what I learned in Bold Color Boot Camp. I've done a couple portraits now in this technique. It's a very loose stroke, multi-valued color type style. Now, I don't exactly do exactly what they do, but I got a lot out of that course. So I'm going to show you guys just the basics, what I have learned. So I'm going to do, this is the reference photo. I'm going to do this man. Now when you do your darkest value, it's going to be, of course, these dark here. Your highlight, your brightest color is going to be like this on the arm. Your in-between, I would go 2 in-between colors, and that's going to be like on his back, you know, and up in his hair and things like that. So that's what I'm going to go by. This is my sketch, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, go to the color wheel and choose a, you want to choose, just Google color wheel combination, color wheel combinations, and you can do the triangle where it picks 3 colors that are complementary, opposites that are complementary, some that are kind of up. There's 4 or 5 colors around a certain, you know, just certain side. You do side by side ones that are complementary. There's now I can't think of all the names for them, but there's all kinds of combinations of colors that you can use. I am using a rectangle pattern, so I chose purple, green, red, and yellow. So those are my colors I'm going to go with values. So my first color I'm going to put down is purple. So here's my values. So I took regular purple, added a touch of white, added a touch of white to that, and added a touch of white to that. And that's how I got my string of values. Value strings is what they're called. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And you guys can do, now I'll probably just do this first section. I may come back and do the next color and the next color and the next color. I don't know. It depends on how involved I get. But that is the basics. So this first layer you do with every color after that. So you don't want to go exactly over the same places, but you're using a loose brush stroke, and a dry brush stroke. So I'm going to find a large, I thought I had a bigger one, but I'm going to go with this large bright. And brights are a stiff, short, bristled brush, which I like to work with. So I'm going to get a little bit wet, and I'm going to go with that darkest value and get that on there. And that's going to be my base. So I'm going by my reference, and there's a really dark one here. And I'm just doing loose. And then it comes down along the back side of that arm. Along that leg. That might even be a little bit higher, I think. And then his waist. And think of all these as shapes, and not like I just said waist. You know, think of like around his waist, there's actually kind of a triangle shape here. So just like that. Now these do not have to be perfect, because remember, you're going to be layering this. So, and then around his buttocks, it comes in about here, and because that's a very, the light is not shiny. Remember where your light source is. Now it looks like the light source is coming from this direction. So everything up here, his knee, his shoulder and front part of his arm, the front part of his thigh, the front part of this foot, that's going to be the highlight, the most highlight. and probably his head and part of his lower bang area. So we're just getting the colors started here. And like I said, stay loose. Don't get so involved that, now there's a shadow under here, right by here. Like I said, just get loose and put the colors on there. And they always say it's ugly before it gets pretty. So, and here on the heel, there's a shadow. So that, there is a little bit of one here. Now up in his hair, there is, it comes around. And it kind of goes up across his head like that. So I can bring it up a little bit more. And in his eye area there is, I might use a smaller brush for that area. So right in here in his knee, there is a shadow. In his arm, this muscle line is right there. And then here, there is the muscle there. And on the back side of the arm is a little bit of a shadow. We're gonna put a little bit in, a hint of it. And then here, the elbow, down, all the way. And around this ankle there is one. A little bit of the toes. I'm not putting detail in the toes at this point. I don't think I'm going to at all. So let's put that shadow here and bring that out a little bit more. Maybe bring it up. All right, let's go back and bring in a little bit more here. Don't worry if you don't get these exact, guys, because you can always come back and change them. Now, see, I went too far on that knees, but I'm not going to worry about it. I can change that. So that is all light colored. This is the dark. This comes down a little bit. My goodness, got a frog or something going on. Now there is shadow here, but it's not much, so I'm just going to bring a line in because it's actually not as dark. You have to really look at your values because I'll pull that down here and show you. So the value, I gotta stand up. So the value of the face right in here is not as dark. Oh, paint on there. Darn it. Is not as dark as this here. So I'm just gonna put a slight line right in there and then bring in my next value probably for that and bring it out. You can put some detail in the ear, but here's where the spots that I'm getting that dark right here, down in through here, on his heel, around that ankle, in his arm, definitely in that arm, and in this line here. I could probably put a little bit in his hair, his eye, and his ear. So I have to go back with the smaller brush and get that in there. So this is where it begins. Sorry, I have to get a drink. Okay. Oh, I have to put this back up. So if you're kind of getting it, that's what we're doing here. put that in there and get my, do I have a smaller brush? Let's go with this one. All right, so I'll wet it down. I'm gonna get a little bit on my brush here. And I'm looking at the eye, and it looks like he's looking down. So you want to just highlight that lash, basically. And bring it down a little bit, there. And then in his ear, I'm gonna have this run up the back of it. And you just get a likeness, basically, because ears are hard. They're hard for me anyway. Okay. And always put your color photo into a black and white so you can see the values and you can compare them, and they're a lot easier to go that way. All right, where's his low? Right here. We're gonna put a little bit of shadow down here. So I have to do the same pose he is. Let's go, whoops. There. Not gonna do much to that ear. So now I'm done with this. So let's go back to the other brush again. And let's bring in some more around his hair. I think his hair comes out a little bit. This kind of gets extended up. There's some down here that we're missing. So this leg, this thigh is dark. It does come up a little bit more. A little bit on the toes. And we can get some on that hand, on those knuckles. But it just might be a kind of like he's making a fist down to the ground. And so I think I'm just gonna do something like that. A hint of the separation of the knuckles, but that's about it. That isn't really, I just want the image. I don't want a likeness. So if you want a likeness, then you want to take a little bit more time on detail and things like that. But if you just want an image, these are fun to do. And let's see, I think there's there. I'm gonna bring this in a little bit more. This down. There is a shadow here slightly. So then your next color, you do not want to actually, you're doing a dry brush. So these colors are gonna come through to the next color. You don't want to cover them up completely. But you wanna get your first colors good. There is a little bit more here. I think the calf comes up on this side of that thigh, so that's, I'm gonna leave that. Okay, do I have most of them? all of them. What's this going right here? I need to go on this side of this leg, this thigh. So it is darker. You want a dry brush, but you want your brush full though. So, I mean, let's see how full that is that I'm using. All right, forgot what I was doing here. This really cuts in deep here, so. And that. A little bit more color here. All these layers are important for the total outcome. Okay, do I have, let's see, there's some here on his forehead. Okay, another thing you can do is squint at your black and white, and that helps you actually, it kind of separates that medium color, so that medium value. So that kind of gives you the highlights and the darkest darks. So now I'm just kind of going through and seeing where I need to go here. One here, that muscle here. I got that one. There. I think this comes out a little bit more. And that knee kind of comes out. Okay. All right, now on to my next color. Clean your brush out good, because it's going to be the highlight. So you want to go your dark, then your highlight, then your midtones. And you're going to layer those. You're going to kind of be, you will overlap these colors, so don't worry about, do not go completely right in the center. You're going to overlap these. So now I'm going with my brightest color, my lightest color, and looking for the highlights. So that is here. Too much water or something in there. And squint your eyes again to see that really, really bright color if you want. So then this actually goes all the way up onto the back of his neck. And then down into here. So that light, remember that light is coming from this direction. So it's going to hit everything that is right there. So let's get a little bit on the back of his head. I'm going to do the top of his head. Back of his neck. this right here is a bright cut. Coming down on that side. There's bright right there. Right on the top of his foot because the light is hitting that right directly on the top of his foot. Top of his thigh. My outliner pen is bleeding onto that, so hit that again. Okay, then there's a little bit up in here. And then coming up on top of that knee. Don't worry if you go outside the lines because you have many layers to go yet. All right, so this right in here is bright. There is a line right in here. This one side of his knuckle is bright. There's not much bright on the back side of this, so we are almost done with this bright. So right here, there's one. Squint again, which I'm doing. I think I need to come up a little more of that. There's one right here. And on his ear, there is one. Okay. So I think we got all the brights. It's mainly all this up front. So then you can step back and now think, is that all I need here? All right, I'm gonna go to the next color. So now I'm gonna go to the, I have 4 values here. I have the dark, medium, medium 2, and light. So I'm gonna go back to this dark, the second value of the dark, okay? Now I'm looking for not light, not dark, but the next darkest value, which is some of this in his hair. There's some spots in his hair, underneath here, some of his face. And here's where that dark medium value comes in, and there's a shadow behind his ear, and in his eye bit. All right, now let's go down here. Now coming off of, too much on my brush, coming off of that dark and light, this in here is a darker but not dark. This is not all the way up though. And I'm gonna do this here all the way back. And then coming up from the dark to the light on his thigh or his knee. There. There is light kind of showing there, so I'm going to come back and hit that a little bit with this color. And then bring it up into that. Top of his thigh is seeing a little bit more light. But do you see how you're bringing these colors together? You're looking at shapes. There is a muscle right in here. I'm gonna bring that up into that. Because we have another value yet to put on here before we even go to the next color. So now this I'm gonna put here. And in between here, I'm going to marry these two. I'm going to bring this all the way in because I think there is a lighter value that I need to be putting in there. And definitely in there because that light is shining between his legs and going in into there. All right, now we're just working down. Is there any more up here? We need a little bit more up here. Kind of join those. That's a hard cut right there, so that is definitely a light and a dark along the arm. Come up in here. Off of that, into there. Into his knuckle area. But if you squint, you can start to see him come together. So now I'm going to come in here with back of his foot. Now, that light is shining through here, so it's hitting that heel. Let's put a little bit of this in here. Okay, so I'm gonna squint. If you squint now, you can start to see it. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. You can even stand back if you have to. I think this Might be down too far. So we can fix that by, let me wipe that off. We're gonna fix that. And we're gonna go here, up and then down. There. And I'm gonna bring that back in here. And then this, I can shorten back up by bringing this in. And there, and I moved it. So this is still that darker in between value. So you can overlap these. And I have one more value to go on this color, and then we switch to another color. So I might take a break and go ahead and do that color, and I'll come back. And that next color is going to be green. Like I said, it gets ugly before it gets pretty. So, all right, so this is this value here, okay? So now we're going into anything that was not bright, not dark, but not medium dark. So the light hits the back of his foot here, bottom of his heel here. Let's, right in here, pretty much anywhere that you have not touched yet. We're gonna blend this in a little bit. And then in between here, those two marry. If it's easier, just do a 3 value painting. If it's less confusing for you. Up in here, this, I'm going to kind of marry these two a little bit more and bring this up a little bit, bring that in. Back. There's not much of this down here, but we're going to add a little bit in. There is here on the waist. Nice, it goes up there, up to his thigh. This part, the very first color, I love the stage of it because it just is that, is monochrome the word? It's just that one color, and to me it's kind of a pretty stage. It's it hasn't gotten too crazy yet, but you can see all the value. If you use a larger brush, it keeps you loose and not wanting to focus on detail. Except I'll probably use a smaller brush in his ear. All right, where am I at down here? Yeah, don't lose track of where you're at sometimes. Somewhere here, he's getting a shadow there. Let's maybe highlight there. Maybe his toes, ends of his toes. Just kind of back here. Okay. Right in here, I think there is a little bit, not much. Right up here. Keep in mind, this is not the highlight, this is the in-between of your highlight and medium value. I'm going to leave that down there. And remember, all that light is up front here. Okay, I'm really liking that. Really liking how it's looking. So, but I want to go back to that light if I have any on there. I do not. Where's my white? Just use some of this. Hopefully that didn't cut out very long. So that's the very first layer with the color purple. The next color I'm going to, that color was, is dioxazine purple. Next color I'm going to is sap green. You guys, this is just a walkthrough of how you can do your own. And if you have a portrait or even a face, this is how I walk through mine. So the next layer in green is going to go exactly the same. I'm going to try not to go over exactly those same spots with the dark green and the light green. It's just kind of dry brushing to kind of keep layering those colors up and up and up. So after the green, I'll do a red and then a yellow. So your color wheel, make sure your colors are complementary. That just Google color wheel combinations and it'll help you find the colors that work really good together. So that's all for today, guys. If I do, I might do the next color. If I do pop on later today, I will make a part 2 on this. Okay, bye guys, have fun.